In a distant galaxy, where stars shone brightly against the dark void of space, fear ruled the hearts of many. The galaxy was home to many strange and beautiful planets, each filled with unique alien races. But there was one name that made them all tremble: Zorak. He was a powerful tyrant feared by everyone. His ships were massive, with dark metal hulls that blocked out the sun. His soldiers were ruthless, trained to follow his orders without question. Zorak lived on the planet of Kael'thar, a place filled with tall, jagged mountains and deep, dark caves. From his palace, he watched over the galaxy, ready to punish anyone who dared to defy him. Zorak ruled with an iron fist, using his advanced technology to crush any rebellion. His soldiers patrolled the streets, their eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. They were known for their brutal tactics, and whispers of their cruelty spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On the edge of this galaxy, a small spaceship was traveling through the stars. Inside, a group of humans were exploring the universe. They were led by Captain Lara, a brave and adventurous woman. Her team was made up of scientists and explorers, all eager to learn about new worlds. They had heard stories about the galaxy's beauty, but were unaware of the dark shadow cast by Zorak. As they approached the planet of Tazera, they noticed something strange. The skies were gray, and the once vibrant forests looked dull and lifeless. They decided to land and investigate. As the humans stepped onto the planet, they were met with a chilling sight. Alien creatures, once proud and strong, now hid in the shadows, their eyes wide with fear. "Why are they so afraid?" one of the scientists, Dr. Mira, asked. Lara looked around, noticing the signs of suffering everywhere. The buildings were broken and the streets were empty. "They must be terrified of Zorak," Lara replied. "We need to help them." As they walked deeper into the town, a group of Zorak's soldiers appeared. The soldiers were tall and imposing, their armor glinting menacingly in the dim light. The aliens cowered at the sight of them, trembling as they hid behind the crumbling walls. The soldiers shouted in harsh, guttural voices, demanding that the aliens return to their homes. Lara knew this was their chance to make a difference. "We can't just stand by," she said to her team. "We need to show them we are not afraid." With courage in her heart, Lara stepped forward, facing the soldiers. "We come in peace," she declared, her voice steady. The soldiers paused, surprised by the humans' boldness. The aliens watched in awe, their fear momentarily forgotten. "Who are you to challenge Zorak's soldiers?" One of the soldiers barked, his voice like thunder. "We are explorers from Earth," Lara replied. "We have seen many worlds, and we refuse to let fear control us. You may have power, but we have hope." The soldiers exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond. The aliens behind Lara gasped, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and admiration. They had never seen anyone stand up to Zorak's soldiers like this before. "Let them go!" Lara shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "You do not have to hurt them!" The soldiers hesitated, taken aback by her bravery. For a moment, the tension hung in the air, thick and electric. Then, as if realizing the humans were more than just weak creatures, one soldier stepped back. "Do not interfere with Zorak," he warned, but his tone lacked the usual menace. With the soldiers distracted, the humans quickly moved toward the hiding aliens, offering words of comfort. "We are here to help," Lara said softly, hoping to build trust. The aliens slowly began to emerge from their hiding places, their eyes wide with curiosity and hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Tazera, Lara felt a spark of determination. They had come to this galaxy by accident, but now they had a purpose. They would not let fear win. Together, humans and aliens could find a way to stand against Zorak's tyranny. As the sun rose over the planet Tazera, its warm rays spread across the broken streets and hidden corners. Captain Lara and her team felt a mix of hope and anxiety. They had met the fearful aliens, but now they needed a plan to help them against the tyrant Zorak. The humans knew they had to act quickly as Zorak's soldiers patrolled the area, watching for any signs of rebellion. After gathering the aliens in a small hidden grove surrounded by tall trees, Lara spoke to them. "We understand your fear. Zorak is strong, but together we can stand against him." The aliens listened, their faces filled with curiosity and hope. One brave alien, a tall creature with shimmering blue skin named Tharok, stepped forward. "We want to fight, but Zorak is too powerful." "His soldiers are everywhere," Tharok said, his voice shaking with worry. Lara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. I know it seems impossible, Lara replied, but fear can be overcome. We need to find a way to unite our strength. The aliens looked at each other, their eyes shining with determination. They began to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make a stand. As they discussed their plan, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the grove. Zorak's soldiers were close! Panic spread among the aliens, and Lara felt her heart race. Stay calm, she whispered. We can't let them see us. The humans quickly hid behind the trees, holding their breath as the soldiers approached. The soldiers were loud and arrogant, laughing as they searched the area. Those weaklings think they can hide from us, one soldier scoffed. Let's show them who rules this galaxy. Lara and her team exchanged worried glances. They couldn't let the soldiers find the aliens hiding nearby. Suddenly, Lara had an idea. We need a distraction, she said, her mind racing. We can't fight them, but we can make noise to draw them away. The humans quickly gathered some rocks and sticks, making a plan to create a loud noise in the opposite direction. On my count, we throw them, Lara said. Ready? 1, 2, 3! They hurled the rocks, sending them crashing into the bushes. The soldiers, hearing the commotion, rushed toward the sound. What was that? One soldier shouted, running off to investigate. The other soldiers followed, leaving the grove empty. Now, Lara whispered, and the humans led the aliens out of hiding. We have to move quickly, she urged. Together they slipped away from the grove, finding a safer spot deep within the forest. Once they were far enough away, the group caught their breath. The aliens looked at Lara and her team with gratitude. You saved us, Tyrant said, his voice filled with admiration. But what's our next step? Lara took a moment to think. We need to gather more allies. There are other alien races who are also suffering under Zorak's rule. If we can unite them, we can show Zorak that we will not be afraid anymore. With renewed determination, the group began their journey across Tazara. They moved from village to village, speaking to anyone who would listen. Each time they shared their plan, they found more and more allies. The aliens began to feel hope again, and their numbers grew. However, not everyone was ready to join the fight. Some were too afraid of Zorak's wrath. In one village, an alien named Kira shook her head. Zorak will kill us all if we rise against him, she said, her voice trembling. But Lara remained optimistic. If we stay silent, he will continue to hurt you, she argued. But if we work together, we can be strong. You have the power to change your fate. Slowly, Kira's resolve began to change. She nodded, and with her support, more villagers joined the cause. As the sun began to set, the group had gathered a small army of brave aliens, willing to fight for their freedom. The humans and their new allies sat around a fire that night, sharing stories and laughter. Lara felt a deep sense of connection with these creatures. They were no longer just victims, they were warriors ready to reclaim their lives. As the stars twinkled above, Lara knew they were on the brink of something great. They would face Zorak together, not just as humans and aliens, but as a united force against tyranny. The fear that once filled their hearts began to fade, replaced by the warmth of hope. With their small army gathered, Captain Lara and her team felt a new energy in the air. The alien villagers stood together, united by a common goal, to fight against the tyranny of Zorak. The night was filled with the sounds of laughter and quiet conversations as they shared stories of their lives. Hope was blossoming like a flower in spring, and they all felt it. The next morning, as the sun rose over Tazara, Lara knew they needed a plan. They had the strength in numbers, but they needed to reach more people. They had to spread their message of hope far and wide. We must show everyone that we are not afraid, Lara said to her team and the gathered aliens. We can use the power of words to inspire others to join our cause. Tharok, the blue-skinned alien who had first spoken to Lara, stepped forward. What do you mean by the power of words? He asked, tilting his head in curiosity. Words can inspire and bring people together, Lara explained. We can tell our story, share our struggles, and let others know that change is possible. If we share our message across the galaxy, we can unite even more races against Zorak. The group agreed, and they began to prepare for a mission to broadcast their message. Lara decided they would use an old communication tower on Tazara, which had once been used to send messages to other planets. If they could restore it, they could reach many more people. They set off toward the tower, a tall structure covered in vines and dirt. As they arrived, Lara and her team examined the equipment. It looks broken, but I think we can fix it, said Dr. Mira, who had experience with technology. The aliens watched closely, eager to help in any way they could. For hours, the humans and aliens worked side by side. They cleaned and repaired the tower, sharing ideas and laughter. Tyrant climbed to the top of the tower, his hands steady as he tightened bolts and adjusted wires. Lara felt proud of how far they had come together. Finally, as the sun began to set, the tower hummed to life. Dr. Mira stepped back, wiping sweat from her forehead. "It's ready," she announced, a smile spreading across her face. Lara took a deep breath. Now we must share our message. She gathered everyone around. "Listen closely," she said. "I will speak into the microphone and you can join in. We will tell the galaxy that we are united and we will not live in fear any longer." With the gathered aliens and her team beside her, Lara stepped up to the microphone. Her voice was steady as she began to speak. "People of the galaxy, we are here to tell you that we will not be afraid of Zorak any longer. Together we can rise against him. Together we can fight for our freedom." The aliens joined her, their voices rising in a chorus of strength. "We are not alone," they shouted. "We will stand together." As their voices echoed through the air, Lara felt a rush of excitement. They were spreading hope, and it was reaching far beyond the borders of Tazera. She closed her eyes, envisioning a future where Zorak's tyranny would end, where all races could live in peace. After broadcasting their message, the group gathered around the tower, their hearts filled with determination. "What happens now?" one of the aliens asked, glancing at Lara. "Now we wait," she replied. "We wait for others to hear our call. We will stand ready to fight, but we must also be prepared to welcome those who wish to join us." The next few days were filled with anticipation. Lara and her team trained the aliens in basic combat skills, preparing them for what might come. They practiced using makeshift weapons and worked on their strategy. Then, one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a ship appeared in the sky. It was a small vessel, but it glowed brightly against the darkening sky. The group gathered outside, eyes wide with hope and excitement. As the ship landed, a ramp lowered and figures began to emerge. Lara stepped forward, her heart racing. "Who are you?" she called out. "We heard your message," a voice replied. A group of aliens different from those on Tazera stepped forward. "We are here to help you fight against Zorak!" Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Lara felt tears of joy in her eyes. The power of their words had reached others, and they were no longer alone. Together they would fight for their freedom and create a new future, one where fear would no longer hold them back. As the small group of new allies joined Captain Lara and her team, excitement buzzed through the air. The fresh faces, all different shapes and colors, stood side by side with the aliens of Tazera. They had come from many worlds, each with their own story of struggle against Zorak. Lara gathered everyone around the makeshift campfire that night. The stars shone brightly overhead, creating a beautiful backdrop for their gathering. "Thank you for coming," she began, her voice steady. "Together we can make a difference, but we need a solid plan to confront Zorak." Tharok, the blue-skinned alien who had first spoken to Lara, stood beside her. "We need to strike when Zorak least expects it," he suggested, looking around at the group. "He thinks we are afraid that we will hide forever." A tall alien named Kira from the newly arrived group nodded. "We should disrupt his operations. Zorak relies on fear to control us. If we can break that fear, we can weaken him." Lara felt a spark of inspiration. "Yes! We can hit Zorak where it hurts the most, his supply lines and his soldiers. If we can create chaos in his ranks, we can show everyone that we are a united front." The group started discussing their ideas. They decided to split into teams. One group would gather intelligence on Zorak's soldiers and their movements. The other group would prepare for direct action against his supply routes. "We need to know where Zorak's supplies come from," said Dr. Mira, who was listening carefully. "If we can cut off their resources, it will slow down his operations." Lara nodded, pleased with the plan. "Tharok, Kira, and I will lead the team going after the supply lines. We can use the forest to hide our movements." As the group made their plans, Lara felt a sense of purpose. They were no longer just a band of frightened aliens. They were becoming a team ready to fight for their freedom. The next day, they set out early. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a golden light on their faces. With stealth and determination, they navigated through the thick trees and underbrush. Lara's team moved quietly, their hearts pounding with anticipation. After several hours of careful travel, they reached a clearing where Zorak's supply depot was located. A large building sat in the middle of the clearing, surrounded by crates and guarded by several soldiers. Lara crouched behind a bush, peering at the scene. "We need to find a way in without being seen," she whispered to her team. Tharok nodded, scanning the area for weaknesses. After a few moments, Kira spotted a side entrance that appeared less guarded. "There! We can slip in there," she pointed. Lara took a deep breath. "All right, let's move quickly. We have to be careful." They crept toward the entrance, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Once inside, they found themselves in a dimly lit corridor filled with crates. Lara led the way, her heart racing. "We need to find the main storage area," she said. "That's where the supplies are." They moved quietly, listening for any signs of guards. Suddenly, they heard voices coming from a nearby room. Lara pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. "I can't believe those weaklings think they can fight us," one soldier laughed. "They'll regret ever trying." Lara felt a surge of anger at their words. "We need to teach them a lesson," the other soldier said. "Zorak wants them punished for their disobedience." Lara exchanged worried glances with her team. Zorak's soldiers were more ruthless than they had imagined. "We have to act fast," she whispered. "Let's find the supplies and get out of here." They continued deeper into the building until they reached a large storage room filled with crates of food, weapons, and other supplies. The sight filled them with hope. "This is it!" Tharok exclaimed, his eyes shining. Lara quickly began to open the crates, and the team worked together to gather as much as they could carry. They knew they had to disrupt Zorak's operation, and this was their chance. As they loaded their arms with supplies, they heard footsteps approaching. Panic washed over Lara. "We have to go now," she urged. With their arms full, they rushed toward the exit they had come from. But as they reached the corridor, they were confronted by a group of soldiers. The soldiers looked shocked to see them. "Stop! You can't escape!" one soldier shouted, raising his weapon. Lara and her team froze for a moment, fear creeping back into their hearts. But then Lara remembered the strength of their unity and the power of their words. "Together!" she shouted, charging forward with her team at her side. In that instant, they knew they were no longer just a group of frightened aliens. They were fighters, ready to stand up for their freedom. The tension in the air was thick as Captain Lara and her team faced the soldiers. They had only a moment to decide their next move, but fear quickly transformed into courage. "Together!" Lara shouted again, rallying her allies around her. The soldiers, taken by surprise, hesitated. This gave Lara and her team the chance they needed. They charged forward, weapons raised, ready to fight for their freedom. Lara led the charge, her heart racing with adrenaline. She felt powerful, fueled by the hope of their united cause. Tharok and Kira fought beside her, their movements swift and precise. Together they tackled the first soldier, disarming him with a well-aimed kick. The battle erupted in chaos. The sounds of shouting and clashing echoed through the corridor. More soldiers rushed in, but Lara's team was ready. With every strike, they felt more alive, more determined. They were no longer just a group of frightened aliens. They were a united front, rising against tyranny. "Keep moving!" Lara yelled, guiding her team deeper into the fray. "We have to reach the exit!" As they fought their way through, they could hear the sounds of their allies outside. The villagers of Tazara had joined the uprising, using makeshift weapons and sheer will to fight back against Zorak's forces. Their courage inspired Lara even more. Outside, the scene was a mix of chaos and bravery. Aliens from different worlds were working together, standing shoulder to shoulder against Zorak's soldiers. The sight filled Lara with pride and determination. In the heat of battle, Kira spotted an exit. "This way!" she shouted, leading the team towards freedom. They pushed through the remaining soldiers, fighting fiercely. Every step they took brought them closer to victory. Finally, they burst out of the building into the open air. The sunlight felt warm on their skin, and for a moment, they paused to catch their breath. But there was no time to waste. They quickly regrouped, ready to continue the fight. Outside, they saw Zorak's soldiers retreating, overwhelmed by the sheer number of brave aliens who had joined the fight. The villagers were pushing forward, reclaiming their home. Lara felt a rush of joy. This was what they had fought for, a chance at freedom. As the battle raged on, Lara turned to her team. "We need to lead our people. Let's help them push Zorak's forces back." With renewed strength, they charged into the fray. Lara fought with everything she had, her heart pounding with each swing of her weapon. They were no longer fighting just for survival, they were fighting for a future. The clash of metal rang in their ears as they pushed forward. The tides of battle were turning in their favor. Lara could see the fear in the eyes of Zorak's soldiers as they began to falter. The united front of aliens was too strong for them. Suddenly, a loud roar echoed through the battlefield. Zorak himself appeared, towering above everyone, his fierce eyes scanning the chaos. "Stop this!" he bellowed, his voice shaking the ground. "You are nothing without me." But Lara felt no fear. Instead, she stood taller, ready to confront the tyrant. "We are stronger together," she shouted back. "You have ruled by fear for too long, but today we stand united." Her words ignited a spark in her allies. The aliens around her cheered, and the sound filled the air like a wave of hope. They charged towards Zorak, their combined strength overwhelming. As they approached, Lara felt the weight of their struggle behind her. The sacrifices made, the fear faced, it all led to this moment. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for all those who had suffered under Zorak's rule. The battle intensified, and Zorak's soldiers began to fall back, their resolve shattered. Lara could see Zorak's face twist with anger as he realized he was losing control. In that moment, Lara knew they were close to victory. "Keep fighting!" she urged her allies. "We can win this!" With one final push, the united front surged forward, and Zorak's soldiers scattered in fear. The tyrant was left alone, surrounded by the brave warriors who had come together for freedom. Lara stepped forward, her weapon raised. "This is the end for you, Zorak. Your reign of terror is over." Zorak glared at her, but in that moment he knew he was defeated. The aliens around Lara stood strong, their unity unbreakable. With a final roar of defiance, Zorak turned and fled, disappearing into the distance. Cheers erupted from the crowd as the battle came to an end. They had done it! Lara stood among her allies, her heart swelling with pride. They had fought for their freedom, and together, they had won. This was just the beginning of a new chapter for Tazara and its people.